And today I want to work with you on overheads. Now I know from a lot of my clients that they don't necessarily like overheads as much, and consequently they don't practice them as much. So it gets into a little bit of a vicious cycle. They're not as comfortable, so they're not training them. They're not training them, so they're not as successful. So one thing that I always try to work with those players is just the mindset. That's a start, because you want overheads. They're a point finishing opportunity. You can open incredible angles because you're very close to the net, and you can hit down on the ball. So that is why I love overheads. You want overheads. Make that a mantra. I want overheads. So let's get started with the fundamentals first. So ideally, to be able to hit a successful overhead is I want to have my Continental grip. If you watched any of my other videos, I don't know how many times I've already said it, but the Continental grip to my mind is the most important grip. So let's find it one more time. So underside of your index finger knuckle and the meaty part of your heel pad want to be on the number 2 bevel. So if I'm coming a little closer, you see that my racket here has that top bevel. That's 1 and then 2. So I want to be on that bevel. The reason why I want to be in my proper grip is because that way I can actually hit down on the ball. I can use my wrist to snap down on the ball, to control with my wrist where I'm placing the ball, how much spin I'm giving it, and how much I can really be aggressive with that shot, with that overhead. If you have a frying pan grip, that makes it a lot more difficult because it's really easy to hit straight down on the ball. And that is maybe one of the reasons why some people don't like the overhead quite as much. So again, we want to be in our Continental grip. Second thing is, of course, I want to be in a ready position. The first thing that I do as a right-hander, the most effective and efficient way to move back under an overhead is to use a drop step. So I'm pivoting on my left foot and I'm dropping just right back like a quarterback into the pocket. And at the same time, I'm taking my right arm, my right hand up here, and my left arm can point at the ball. And literally point at the ball. Nothing wrong with that. I was always taught when I was little, and it stuck with me, build a roof. The strings face to my head. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but that's one of the ways that I remembered that I have to have my wrist up here and my arm up here in a letter L. So that's the first thing that I'm doing. What I don't want to do is backpedal, because I'm not getting back quickly enough and I just don't cover enough ground. So the other problem with that is also I'm going to be off balance. So you don't want to fall on your tush, so make sure that you turn. So that is the first thing that I want to do. Now, if I need to get under the ball more, I can do one of two things. I can shuffle, and that is perfectly fine. Or if I'm a little bit more of an advanced player, I want to use what's called a karaoke step, a crossover step, because that helps me get back way quicker with just one step. And it looks like this. So I got my drop step, crossover, and then I shuffle. So just one crossover because I need to quickly gain ground. So right here, boom, and then I'm under the ball. So now that I'm in my ready position here, I either have shuffled or I have used my crossover. I'm under the ball. So what I want to do now is I'm reaching up, and I make contact slightly ahead of me here in front of my head. So all the way up, and then I follow through to the left of my body, basically putting my racket into the pocket if I had one, so across my belly button. So let's look at it once or twice, just without a ball. Now I'm under the ball, and now I can get up and follow through. So one more time. Drop step, crossover, and shuffle. Then I'm under the ball, and I can then get up to the ball and make contact in front. Now, a couple of variations. There's one thing called the scissor kick, and that is a little bit more of an advanced technique. What it does is it gives you more ground in a jump when you have no more time to get under the ball with shuffles or even a crossover step. So what you do on those, crossover, and then what I'm doing is, as I'm moving back, I'm jumping off my right and land on my left. So again, I'm jumping on my right, land on my left. And you can do that, of course, just as a sequence like that. Here, here, and just gently and nice in the beginning. And of course, when you need to be more aggressive, you can widen the stride with that scissor kick. Another variation is when you move back under the ball, and the ball's a little shorter actually than you expected. What you do then is you shuffle under the ball. What you don't want to do is you don't want to get up to it like this and then hit down on the ball. So make sure that you're staying sideways. So once you've prepped, you can move in any direction with your upper body sideways. And I'm going to show you a great video of Martina Hingis doing that in a practice. And you see that she's just adjusting with her legs. Her upper body is already prepped. And then when you're perfectly under the ball, you can hit. Okay, so let's look at all of those motions from the back. All right, so again, I'm in my ready position here. I'm seeing that I'm getting a lob. As a right-handed person, I'm drop stepping. So my right side is back, my right arm is up. I have my letter L, building the roof, and my left arm points at the ball. It also helps me balance, and of course, helps me to track the ball. So I can shuffle, which is perfectly fine. So it's not quite as fast as a drop step and a crossover. And I'm also going to show you the scissor kick. And that is, again, if I really have no time anymore to fit more of shuffles or one crossover and then shuffles in, I just need to literally launch. And that is just a way that you can work on this, just isolated by itself. If you're new to this, this is how I learned it. Right, left. Right, left. And that's your scissor kick. So you can do that just a couple of lengths of the court to get the feel for it. One more time. Now let's look at it when I'm actually hitting some. Okay, so now that we've seen how the feet are helping us to get under the ball, let's talk about what our upper body does. So on the overhead, I am a big fan of using my wrist a good deal. So the way that I want to place my ball is, of course, first and foremost with my body position. So if I want to go to the outside here, I do turn slightly more. I'm looking to the left of my arm. And then what I'm doing is I'm leading with the edge of my racket. So you see that here, I'm leading with the edge, and then on my upswing, I'm turning my thumb up and out. So that at contact point, my racket again is squared up to the ball, and then I follow through to my left. So that is your pronation. You remember that from serves, that we're turning the thumb up and out. I'm leading with the edge of my hand and an extension, the edge of my racket, and then I'm turning my thumb up and out. So when I'm going to the deuce court, as a right-handed person, I just slice it a little bit more. And what that means is that I'm leading with the edge of my racket, edge of my hand, and I'm brushing by the ball a little bit more on the right side of the ball. And that usually, when you transition from a not so great grip to a Continental grip, that will be your easier overhead because it's more natural to just brush by that ball. So let's look very closely at how I'm going to use my wrist if I want to really give the ball some pop. So on the overhead, I do use my wrist a lot, and I do teach to use the wrist as well. So one drill that we're using when somebody, especially when they transition from a not so great grip to a Continental grip, one drill that I use fairly often in the beginning is that you literally just put yourself a couple of feet or yards from the net, toss the ball up, and then you snap down on the ball. So I come a little closer and I show you what I'm doing. I'm just doing this. Snap. I can actually just do that here right in front. Make sure that you don't bounce it into your snout, because that happened before too. So what I'm doing is I'm really trying to come from on top of the ball to spike it down, so to speak. And my goal is to get it inside the service line, just to really learn that pronation and that snap down. And then, of course, you tie that into an easier feed here, upswing, snap, and you still follow through. So, of course, you can use ball machines, and you can use one other tool to help you with an overhead. So let me show you that drill. If you can find a backboard somewhere, that is how you practice your overheads. So you can start fairly up close or fairly close up to the wall, and I'm just working on this, right? That's all I'm doing in the beginning. Just getting a feel for how hard I have to hit the ball to bring it back into an overhead position for myself. So here, and I can just do that gently, just like that. That works too. And then I hit a little harder. And then I back up a little bit. And so on and so forth. So that was one drill that we did as kids a whole lot, much to the annoyance of people around us, because we had a backboard that sounded like that. But that is one way where you don't have to have a partner when you want to practice your overheads. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Also, always, please do share with your friends. Recommend my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and I'll see you for my next session.